anyway, I really appreciate it. I really got a lot of interest near yesterday. Gratifying to have a lot of you show up like this. So thank you for spending your Saturday with me. First, I want to talk about what it's like to be in this webinar type thing. So one of the things I want you to notice that you do have this little icon down here. If you all could locate that for me, and go ahead and raise your hand. Let me just show me that you can hear me, number one, and that you can raise your hand. So that's good. Excellent, excellent, excellent. And as you can see, everybody's raising their hand, a few people. And of course, if you're a phone participant, you may not be able to do that. Looks like everybody did it. Good job. Thank you. Now, there's also what I have with that icon is, well, first of all, the chat is where you put in your entrance down there saying hi and then hit send, and it'll come up in the chat room. Now, I have a lot of people in this webinar, so your comment may scoot up to the point where it's not seen. And that's where I actually am hoping when you raise your hand, you would do it because you have a comment. And what I'll do, because when I'm talking through my slides, a lot of times it's difficult for me to look at the chat at the same time. So when you have a comment that in the chat you'd like me to see, go ahead and raise your hand, and I'll look down there. I'll read it for everybody, especially people who are on the phone or things like that. The other thing that I would like to work through is there are times I may ask you yes or no questions. I'm going to keep my when I ask you because I have so many people, it's best for me to ask yes and no questions so I can kind of get a sense of where everybody is. Now you can go back to the icon again, and you'll see that you can down here you can hit clear. You can hit clear my status down here, as you can see. The other thing I have is a thing called need assistance. Now, just before I started this webinar, I had to kind of log out and log back in order to get the camera to work. So I noticed that when I've been using this at times, things do get a little bad. So what I'm hoping is if you need the assistance in two ways, you don't hear me or you don't see my video, either you may have to log out and then get back in using the link I gave you, or I need to get out and then get back in. So, and that may take a minute or two and stuff. So, okay, Tom Burke, you have your hand up, so don't forget you can clear your status down below where the happy face is. All right, good job. So I think we, if you understand all this, what I just said, could you hit the agree icon? And that means yes, you're understanding how this is going to work. Oh, you guys are great. And really what's nice about this is when you start using the icons like this, it kind of gives me a feedback mechanism with what I'm doing here. So I actually know people are listening, so I really appreciate that. Okay, what we're going to cover today is because I have so many people, I have people who may be coming in for the first time considering what system engineering is, and I also may have people who actually haven't actually been involved with INCOSE too much. So I was going to actually talk to what is INCOSE, what is their mission, and what are some of the products, because this certification, both the ASEP certification is an INCOSE product. And then we're going to review that process that INCOSE uses to put that certification out to people. What are the key requirements, education, experience, and then the knowledge. Most of the education and experiences is captured within the application, and the knowledge is done through the exam. Now, I know a lot of people are worried about the exam. My key aspect is try to get your application out prior to you studying for the exam. Now, we'll talk more about that as we get closer. Okay, who am I? I'm Paul Martin. I'm an expert system engineering professional. I even got my my little pen here so you can see it. I've been an engineer since the late 70s. I've worked as a product engineer for General Electric, a software system engineer for NAVC. I was a lead system engineer for NEMA. I even was the chief system engineer for some products for the Army and on a contractor basis. I work for DoD even today. So I've been around the block, I guess you can say, and really the main aspect of my training has been acquisition. I have like this level 3, what they call SPURDY, which is system planning, research and development something. So that's where the majority of my thing is. But I'm also an adjunct professor for UMBC. I teach 2 graduate courses there. One actually deals with advanced system engineering processes, which deals with the processes from the handbook and ISO 15288. I also teach integration, implementation, and test. I've been involved in an INCOSE chapter for quite a number of years, since the year 2000, but for the past few years, I used to be their director of programs, and also their I've been communications director. So if you go to the Chesapeake chapter INCOSE website, I kind of helped design that and work that out. And I've been teaching an exam course, a ASEP exam course since 2009. And we'll talk more about that later on. But enough about me. I do have too many people, and actually we're not going to be using the mic function, so people won't be able to talk. So although if you raise your hand and you want to talk, you can put something in the chat. But go ahead and go in the chat function. And if you don't mind, what I really would love to know is where you're living now or where you're calling from. That would give me an indication of how far widespread this year I am. And also, if you're going after ASEP, CSEP, ESEP, and if you're new to INCOSE, that would help me as well. So I'll give you guys a few minutes to try to work that through. I need to, oops. Thank you for sharing with us, guys. This is really helpful. Trying to clean up my my act here. All right. All right. So good. It seems like a lot of you are actually close to my area around here in DC, in the Baltimore area, which is where I'm from. But it's nice to see some of you from like South Carolina and other places as well. So so it's really good that to have you all here. Thank you for sharing. I appreciate it and stuff. All right, let's talk about the need for system engineering. I'm actually also a member of IEEE, and I actually love their IEEE Spectrum. It's a great magazine that talks about engineering issues and things like this. And back a few years ago, actually 2008, it was like maybe 6 months before the Acquisition Reform Act came out, where they changed the DoD acquisition process some. in order to put system engineering up front. And actually, this writer did one of the better descriptions of what system engineering is. Because he talked about how what contributes to program failure was the shortage of technically trained people, especially system engineers. Because it's that system engineer that translates the needs into the overall system architecture that creates the best operational capability at the most affordable cost. Now notice that they're not just coming up with a solution, they're coming up with a solution within the bounds of the program and its cost. And as the program proceeds and goals or needs shift, right, system engineers have to determine that difficult but necessary cost, schedule, and performance trade-offs to keep everything on track. As the program gets bigger and more complex, the more rigorous system engineering increases. So what I think is important about this is, number one, notice how the link to program management and the key aspect of program management working is an important aspect for system engineering to work. And so that's what I like about this, is that it talks about that technical aspect. Look, I know there's a lot of program managers out there, but do they really know what needs to be built and how it gets to be built? And that's where the system engineer comes in, working through requirements, working through the technical aspects of what it means to develop something. So system engineering is quite needed. Back in 2009, CNNMoney actually put system engineering as ranked job number 1. And it actually mentions the CSEP as a potential prerequisite. So that was a few years ago. By the way, number 3 on that year was adjunct professor. So I actually had 2 of the top 3. But John Thomas, our president over at INCOSE, wrote this paper, Why System Engineering is Essential in Your Organization. And in it, he talked about system engineers being problem solvers. How across an organization, products and services, system engineers provide that critical leadership of integrating technical activities. They have the skills to influence that multidisciplinary teams to reach consensus on how a system solution should come together. And as problem solvers, they focus on outcome, not process. I'm a big believer in process, but not to the point where value is diminished. So process has to be related to value. And system engineers have to bring that value to solving the problem their organization has. And that's actually one nice thing about that I love about the handbook, is it talks about the contextual aspect of a program, of a project within a program, within an organization. That's kind of what my chart here that I'm going to show you later is all about. Now, what is INCOSE? It's the International Council of System Engineering. It's a not-for-profit membership organization. It was founded in 1990. And the whole idea was to develop and disseminate the interdisciplinary principles and practices that enable the realization of successful systems. They really do stress successful systems because they feel system engineering is that value added to projects that allow them to succeed. But they really want to advance the best system engineering across the globe and really benefit humanity and the planet with these solution type aspects. So, and they also want to be, of course, the world's authority on system engineering. And it's true. I mean, if you go to any paper that talks to system engineering, if they want to have a definition, they'll go to one of the INCOSE handbook, which is one of their products. And speaking of products, what the INCOSE does, they actually have an international symposium. They have that meets once a year. As a matter of fact, this year it'll be around July 2nd, and it'll be in Las Vegas. They have a journal of system engineering, very scholarly articles dealing with system engineering. They're Insight magazine for their members. They are helping with the system engineering body of knowledge. That's SEBOC is a wiki that's online that you can go to, and it actually is pretty good for looking at kind of high-level aspects of system engineering. They worked with the OMG, which is the object modeling group. Their system modeling language, they worked with OMG to make sure they did SysML, which was a addition to UML, which gave it more of a system engineering flavor. And of course, they have their handbook as well, and that will become important, of course, later on when we talk about certification. Okay, so certification is another aspect of the certification program. I mean the INCOSE products, and they come in 3 levels. We're going to actually cover each of those. But the whole idea was to come up with this multi-level professional system engineering professional certification program, and it was a formal method. It recognizes knowledge, experience from a system engineer, and it doesn't matter where they are in their career. They could be just starting out, or they could be, you know, like me, you know, just ancient of days. There is a certification for everyone. So the program has been designed to help both the community. It creates the standard to identify and develop system engineering professionals, and establishes that formal recognized body of knowledge for system engineering community. Now I have a question for you. This is we'll use our plus and minuses if you could. How many times as a system engineer have you been confused with the IT system administrator? That's me, I have. So hit plus if you agree. And that right there, now I notice a few of you haven't, but still a lot of you have. And that's the problem, trying to explain what a system engineer is. They're like, wait a minute, aren't you the IT guy in the back that's making it work? You know, and it's like, this is where INCOSE has come in and say, no, we're trying to explain how system engineering is this multidisciplinary discipline to solve problems. And so that's the main reason we're doing it. So this certification program helps try to alleviate those problems that we've had in the past. And of course, organizational and institutions now have something where they can actually look at a person's professional knowledge and be able to use that in the tasks that they have and stuff. All right. And by the way, they've been around only a few years, 2004, so it's 10 years. I believe the PMP for Program Management Institute has been around for maybe 20 or 25, so maybe why they have so many PMPs out there. So how did the certification, I always like to put it this way, is INCOSE members looked around, saw these certification from these other organizations, and they wanted one too, so they kind of got jealous. So they were like, hey, how come we can't have one? So the board of directors of INCOSE said, okay, we'll make one and we'll do it. So, but it is a certification. It's not a certificate. I could actually give you a certificate for coming to my webinar. I'm not going to do that, but you know, that's something you can do. And actually, over at UMBC, we give a certificate. If you take 5 of their classes, we'll give you a certificate that you took 5 of their classes. So this isn't one of those certificates where we're just trying to show that you've been trained in something. And it's not a license. This isn't a way for the state to say, go ahead and do business or profession or something like that. Certification is kind of that confirmation of the capability, both education, experience, and knowledge of a person in that profession. And it's a formal process, very voluntary. It shouldn't be a barrier or a gate. However, it's becoming a qualifier, right? I mean, if somebody sees an 8-year professional out there, system engineer, one with a certification and one without, then what would the job offer ask for? Most likely for the certificate certification. So, and the certification comes actually through this ISO standard that actually sets the criteria. As a matter of fact, they want you to define what's to be examined, what are the competencies, what knowledge, skill, and personal attributes, what kind of examination, is it independent, does it actually validate that competence. The other thing the ISO standard does is it feels you shouldn't be forced to be a member of the organization. So for the CSEP, not the ASEP or ESEP, but for the CSEP, you do not have to join INCOSE. Now, I'm going to show you why joining INCOSE is good from a PDU standpoint. It's good, but you don't have to join. It's a little more expensive too to do it that way. Now, of course, certifications through this ISO standard, a lot of organizations have them. PMP has, PMI. Excuse me, they've been around for quite a while, and they have their program management professional, their project management professional, they have their certified associate in program management, project management, even agile certified practitioner. And then you have the International Information System Security Certification Consortium, and they have the famous CISSP, which you may have heard, which is for cybersecurity. And even IEEE Computer has a certified software development professional. So these certifications aren't new. And as a matter of fact, well, actually, this would be a good question. Put the plus sign that you agree that you've seen somebody addicted to having these things on the these letters on the back of their name, these certifications. I have a friend. He has his little. I swear, you have to take his business card and flip it over to get the rest of them. So anyway, CSEP is and ASEP, CSEP, or ESEP is very similar to that. And so really, what we're going to go through here is just talk about what is it that INCOSE does, and what is their process to bring people in. So, and just to re-emphasize, and I don't want to spend too much. By the way, I have so many people here. I do want to give you a chance at the end if you want to ask questions. I want to answer them. So just keep in mind, certification is important for organizations. They're actual organizations that are dedicated to get their people certified through INCOSE. Because what they can do is they can tell the people that they're trying to bid with, look, we have all these engineers, and not only they're good engineers, but they're all been INCOSE certified. It's a great way for the organizations to really show that they have that system engineering capability. And also, an organization by itself can be certified, right? So you can have an organization that's certified in a CNNMoney or a ISO 9000 standard or something. So if you have those type of certifications that show that you have your processes in order, think about having your employees actually knowledgeable as well and having those certifications. So basically what it does is it goes from the organization to the people, and it has that link. So it really complements what an organization does when they are trying to be certified as an organization. It's good to have their individual people as well. Of course, for you, you can imagine being recognized as a professional system engineering. You be that discriminator when you're going for your next job. And this is an important thing. And when you have a company like this that have their ISO 9000 or CNNMoney, they may actually have training that says, look, we want you to be trained in this and stuff like that. But you actually can't take that training with you to another organization. In this certification, you can. It's very portable. No matter where you're at, that certification belongs to you. So it sets you apart. And of course, teams, if you have teams where the certified people are together, that's another aspect of being able to have that language that you'll be using, because system engineers use the same concepts and activities, the processes. You'll be able to communicate a lot easier for that. So it's really useful when you have organizations that are geographically dispersed and they're using this same thing. So it does, you should kind of leverage certification for the individual, get that recognition, put it on your business card, put it on your resume. For organizations, they're able to use it for their proposals. Now, this is actually older. I didn't have time last night to put the one from December 2013, but I think we're up to around 1900 active SEPs. So that's split between the various many. Now, keep in mind, it's been 10 years. It'd be interesting actually to look at the PMI when they were 10 years, like from 1980 to 1990. Did they take a while to grow? So I think we're still at the beginnings of this. By the way, I got my CSEP back in 2006, so I was in this like less than 200. I think I was like number 225. So I was like over here, like 176 or something. I was at this for quite a while, and actually, it's very heartening to see this grow quite a bit as we're going in. Okay, pretty impressive growth. Okay. Remember I told you there were actually companies out there that are interested in getting their people certified. So they actually have agreements with INCOSE. And what the agreements do is they say, look, we'll set up a 3-person, there's different types of agreements, but one agreement is that we'll set up a board of people that will review all the applications from our company, and then we'll send it to you as part of our company. And you'll get like this massive, like 10 or 12 or 20 applications all at once. And we've reviewed them, so we know they're good. So INCOSE says that's great. That makes it easier for us to review these. And we feel confident because you're kind of putting your behind it as well. So because of that, we'll drop the requirement of 3 references down to 2. So that's something they do. Also, so if you are a member of any of these, you may want to look up, and I'll actually show you how to do that. Look up who the point of contact is, because you can talk to them, and you might even get a discount for the application. Now, there are different ways to enter into this. You can start right off from an ASEP, and an ASEP's pretty easy. You pretty much give them your name and say you'd like to take the test, and that's it. Now the CSEP, you have to kind of prove 5 years worth of knowledge and experience within the system engineering activities that I'm going to show you. And then the ESEP is more 20 years, and it's kind of a leadership, and they kind of talk to you. They actually have interview with you as they're working. So these are and you can enter at any time. You could, but you can also jump up. Like I entered as a CSEP, but became an ESEP later. So that's something that you can do as well. So let's talk about each level. Before I get started, if everybody is good to go ahead and hit your plus sign so that I know you're there. And also, if you have any questions, please raise your hand, type into the chat, and I'll take a good. Okay, everybody's good to go? Good, 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 good. Oh, so what I want to talk about is the entry level. This is just targeted at people who are coming out of college. They know they want to be system engineers, and so they would join INCOSE, and then they would be an ASEP, and they can become an ASEP. And you can renew it every 5 years. They feel that if after 15 years you can't become a CSEP, something wrong. They do kind of, and actually the program hasn't been around long enough for them to actually incorporate that, but that's their rule. So what you do with the ASEP is you get an application, say here's my name, here's my money, and then they notify you, that's great, thanks for the money, go ahead and take the test. So you study the test, and then you go ahead and take it. If you pass, you become an ASEP. So very straightforward. By the way, keep in mind that once the application comes in, I mean, once you're approved on that application, you have a year to take the test. So you don't have to take the test right away. And we'll talk about what it means to prepare for the test. Now, the CSEP is a little more complicated because this is kind of targeted to people that are 5 or more years experience, and they are being certified against that experience in education. So you actually have to have your experience substantiated references. So it's very important that you get the right type of references. And then you also have to take the exam. You don't need to be a member of INCOSE, but they do encourage it, of course. And you have to renew it every 3 years with a huge amount of PDUs. So we're going to talk about what that means as well. Now I put the CSEP process is kind of a little complicated because it comes 2 different ways. One is you say, I want you to review my application, make sure it's right, and then I'll take the test. Now this takes a little longer because your references take a while, right? So you would fill out your application, ask your references to send their their part in, and then INCOSE has to bring them all together. And then from there, they need to, then they'll notify you, hey, go ahead and take the test. But you only have a year from the time you submit your application. So if the application takes 2 or 3 months, then you only have a few months, you know, about 8 or 9 months to take the exam. And of course, if you want this faster, there is a way, and a lot of people complained about this at the beginning. Let's try to do this fast. So what they did is the test first option. So this is where you put your application in, but you say, hey, I would like to, if you like my application, I'd like to take the test right away while you're waiting for my references. Now there's kind of a aspect of this is you have to be sure your references are good and your application is good. So because they'll have to review your application to make sure you're good to go. And then if you pass the test and your application's good, you know, a few weeks after, you know, a month or 2 after you pass your test, they'll have the application done and you become a CSEP. So one nice thing about this approach is you can kind of study for the test and take it rather quickly and then not have it kind of in the back of your mind, you know, as we're going along. So it depends on how you want to, how fast you would like this certification. It does take a while. I'm surprised. I've been teaching this certification preparation course for years, and I'm always surprised that people think they can do this really quickly, and it's not. The application is really one of the harder parts. Now I'm throwing this in here just in case some of you actually would be find that you might meet these requirements and you may want to try it. But this is the expert system engineering professional. Not only they're looking for more years, they're looking for more work-related more work-related experience, and your references will actually be called, and they'll have this conference with them talking about your leadership and your accomplishments. And in this one, they do expect you to stay an INCOSE member. Nice thing about this method, by the way, is number one, you don't need to do PDUs, you don't need to renew it. As long as you're an INCOSE member, you stay in ASEP. And number two, oh, you don't have to take the test. You're not interested in the test. So if you're a expert, if you're a leader in system engineering, like you've led projects and stuff like that, they would like you to become CSEP. There's a question. In the CSEP, does the application need to have referrals submitted or just in process? Oh, yes, right. Or he gets the notification to take the exam. So, yeah, let me go back to test first option. They look at your application. They want to take about 2 weeks. They put this as part of things they would love to do. Is within 2 weeks of you submitting your application, they will back to you to say if it's sufficient enough, like if it was filled out correctly, and they see that you have, that you meet the criteria, they'll go ahead and tell you to go ahead and take the test. Now, part of that criteria is having those 3 references. So that is, I think, what you mean is that the INCOSE guys, right? The INCOSE guys will be looking to see if your application is right. They don't need the references right away to have you go ahead and take the test. Does that answer your question? If so, just hit a plus sign next to your name there. I'd appreciate that. All right. Who are those? Who are they, INCOSE guys? Those are, they're actually the leadership. And actually, I can show you that when we get on the INCOSE page. There is a leadership council. They actually have a sort of review board advisory group. It's called the CAG, and they work with them as well. Is there any discriminators that could cause them to take longer? Not that I don't know. Not quite sure what you mean by discriminators, but I'm going to show you. I'll definitely show you what the criteria is, and they'll be looking at. And the one thing I'm going to do is show you how to write your application in such a way that the application, they call it the certification application review, CAR, person, you're making it easy for them to see that you're meeting those 2 weeks. So will it take longer than 2 weeks? Actually, I think one of the reasons it may take longer than 2 weeks is they're getting more, right? They're getting a lot more, and it's harder for them to get them reviewed. I think that's probably one of the reasons. So back to senior level. So the senior level is you fill out this lengthy application, because you do need to fill out it's similar to the CSEP, but maybe 4 times more, because they're looking for 20 years experience. You need to show at least 2 years in 6 areas, system engineering area. So you need to justify 12 years within your system engineering profession, what you've done. You submit that in the fee. The fee's a little more expensive. They look at it, and then they'll call you and your references separately, of course, just to verify everything they've done. If they like what they hear and things like that, you get your little badge here. So it's nice. By the way, they had acquisition extension. They no longer do this. This was kind of in par with the DoD acquisition. I believe it was the acquisition handbook, chapter 4, which is system engineering. It just really take off, so they're no longer doing this. They do want to have other extensions like PMI. It's just taking them a while to pull that together. All right, let's talk about what these key requirements for the certification is. There are about 3 really when it comes to ASEP, well, 2 for ASEP. So for the CSEP, we're going to concentrate on the for the CSEP, and it's experience, knowledge, education. And again, this comes down to the way the ISO guidelines for certification programs are. So they're pretty much important about that. So let's talk about educations. You really need a technical bachelor's degree or some international equivalent. So if you've done electrical, environmental, nuclear systems, software, civil, computer. Now, there are certain things like IT, if you notice that's not up there. And if you've done like science-related things like chemistry or computer science or physics, they like that too. If you have a weird degree that you're not sure of, they're very good about letting you know if it works or not. So send them a note. Actually, I have something at the end here to show you the notes, but it's on the INCOSE website as well. We'll go through that to show you how you can communicate with them. But it is still a small program, so they're pretty responsive in getting back to you. Now, you don't need education. You know, the education, you can actually still get your CSEP, but for the education, you have to add more years. They're looking for 5 years, but if you don't have if you have a bachelor's degree, but let's say it's in English or economics, you know, then you should actually add 5 more years of general engineering experience. So you would need 10. All right, but let's say you came out of high school, you started working for DoD, and before you know it, you were working all these programs, and you still feel you're a system engineer. Well, you have to show 10 additional years, so you need 15 years, all right, of system engineering experience when it comes to the CSEP. So again, keep in mind, this doesn't have to, you know, the education doesn't have to stop you from going forward, just you need more experience. Speaking of experience, let's talk about that. So what they do is they've broken up the experience of a system engineer into 14 areas. There's technical competencies where you talk about requirements, design, integration, qualifications or validation, or what people like calling tests, but you know, it's those competencies they want to see. They're technical management competencies like technical planning, technical effort assessment, risk and opportunity, baseline control, that type of technical management. And then there's the support to the technical, sort of like the specialty engineers. Engineering. We'll actually a little bit into that. Process definition, training, tool support, and quality assurance. And then they put one more in there, the other. And that's like, okay, we understand different domains have different things. Describe it, and maybe they'll accept it. So it's important that you try to pull, and you try to show a balance of your experiences. So I actually, these are actually part of attachment A on how to fill out your application. My suggestion, read all of these before you even start, because you need to start thinking about your career in these type of chunks. And I'll explain why as we get into the application matrix. That's kind of the key to making this work. Believe me, I tried to cut and paste my resume into the application, and they were not very happy about that. So what I'm going to do is show you how to make it easy for the application reviewers see that you do meet their criteria that they're looking for. Okay. So notice, and really you need to read these also so that you can describe what you did in their terms, if it's very related to the way you do it. So your domain may have different aspects, like maybe you might talk about capabilities instead of requirements, but it's close, it's in there, it's what you did. You were trying to figure out the user needs. So deriving requirements and ensure that the requirements are allocated and things like that are still part of requirements engineering. So as you can see, we have a bunch of descriptions here, and as well as here, architecture, design, tool support, training. By the way, I did have one student who gave me his application, and he actually said his training was he was helping with their individual training plans. That's not quite what they're talking about when they talk about training plans here. They're talking about training plans for the system you're developing, right? What kind of training courses do you need to develop for the system that's being developed? So that's kind of, so you got to read these with that system engineering flavor, as we go through. Now, what are they looking for experience? They're looking for minimum of 5 years, but there's actually an aspect of the functional areas. They want 1 year in at least 3 of these areas. So notice they said 5 years, but they want to see your experience broken up between, right? I have 14 areas here. Did you spend a year in technical planning, a year in tool support, a year in risk and opportunity? That's good. Okay, so that's what they want to see, that you're in 1 year in each of these 12 months. Now, of course, that won't be 1 year total, right? You may spend a half a year here, 3 months here, and things like that. So I'll show you how to work that into this matrix that will actually show them that you're meeting this, this need. Now, you need to confirm your experience by having colleagues or peers or managers actually recommend you within that 5-year period. So they have to show that they're knowledgeable of system engineering and they saw you do system engineering, basically. Now, it's very important that they are system engineers and they need to describe themselves as such. You can't put in your program manager, your supervisor, if they're not system engineers. It really does not help. And we'll get into that as well when we pull up the reference paperwork. So what do they mean by performing in some but not necessarily all the system engineering things? So this is kind of a diagram they show. If you think about the top as a means, let me get in here, right in here. If you think about option 1, notice they did, think about this as the 5 years, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This person here did 3 functional areas: 1 year in area 1, 1 year in area 3, 2, and 1 year area 3. That's acceptable. I think it looks better when you're down here at option 4 and you show, no, I've not only done 3 years of these activities, but I've also done these other 2 years. I've done a lot other activities. It just shows that you have a lot more experience in engineering functions. But it's important that you have 1 year in 3 areas. You can't have a bunch of like 9 months here, 8 months here, 9 months, and none of them add up to 12. Then you don't meet the criteria. So that would be a problem. All right. So you need your experience performing some but not all SE areas. So I'm going to go ahead into the applications. If everybody is still good, go ahead and hit your plus sign for me. That way I know you're still alive. You know, I need to see that you guys are alive. Good. Good. I see that. Good, good, good. Okay. Yep, yep, yep. Good. So if you're new, the plus sign is at the little, the happy face down below your name where the presenters are. You click on that and a little icon box will come up. You get that. And go ahead and clear your plus sign. Good, you guys are still here. So let's talk about the application. Basically, all your application information that you need, of course, is on the INCOSE website. You go to where how to apply, and you can pull something like that is up. Okay. You download the forms that you want, that you need, of course, from the INCOSE website. And what are those forms? Number one, you need the application for your system engineering certification. That's the most important one. So I'm going to show you how I filled mine out and how you could fill yours out in a little better manner so that they can follow it. Number two, of course, the instructions. Now, the instructions have that Appendix A that you need to be able to understand the functional areas. Number two, you should have a letter that you would send to your references that explains the certification program and that they'll be helping you out with a reference. Number two, the reference has to fill out this endorsement form. And we'll go through that. I think it's best when you fill out the endorsement form as much as you can and let them just fill in their you know, recommendation wording that they feel comfortable with. It's really important. So email your prospective references. It may be one of the first things you do even before, as you're working on your application. Believe me, it's going to take a while to do your application, a few weekends at least, because you have to take all your experience and start ripping things apart and them into the application. So number one, you need to confirm they're system engineers, of course, and you need to kind of express to them that they need to describe their profession in those terms. And then confirm their interest, of course. You do need some information to put on the application, their address and email and things like that. That's important so that INCOSE can kind of bridge the two, right? As a recommendation comes in, it's for you. And so see that those two are matched. So I have actually, give me a sign. I need to do this. How many of you have gotten on my Canvas learning management system? Just hit the plus sign if you've gotten on. If you haven't, hit the minus sign. So actually, I know a lot of you that I'm seeing now are on there. I know that you're kind of not in yet because you just signed up like yesterday or 2 days ago. I do encourage you, when you get into Canvas and you get into my that Canvas site, I do have some sample emails you can look at. I really encourage you to get into, and also you get the copy of my application and things like that. I have my tips. Everything I'm talking about here, I kind of put on 2 pages for you to make it easy. So what you're trying to do with your application is take your experience that is all related to that Appendix A, and you're trying to bring it to the matrix. And I'm going to show you how to do that. So you need to take all your so what I did, and what I encourage people who fill out their application to do, take each experience level that you're doing, what they call a position. Each position, you're in position 1, position 2, position 3. Take each of those and start ripping it up in terms of what you did in accordance to these 14 areas. And so let me show you where that. So here's an example of my application. So as you can see up here, and let me go ahead and I think I can, I'm going to have to get close to this because I can't, sorry about being so close, but I can't see my pointer options. Pen. There we go. All right, so up here in position 2, right, that I did, I actually say, look, I was in this position from this month and this year to this month to this year, and I figured out how many months those were. Notice that now what I did was I calculated those months and I put those months in at the end there. I said it was 43 months. Now the application doesn't ask you to do this. There's a reason why I'm asking you to do it. It's because it's actually going to work out in the matrix. They want to make sure that you added up your thing correctly. As a matter of fact, that's what I have here. So here's the matrix in the application, right? And notice in P2, I said I was in that position for 43 months. But notice down here, I only added up, down here, can you see that? There we go. Down here, I only signed up for 41 months. I can only account for. Now, what happened, of course, was I was in a holding cell for a while, or I was doing some other project that had nothing to do with system engineering. But the rest of it did. So they can at least see you're not over doing your experience, right, as you're doing it. The other thing that you want to look at here, notice for each position, I actually broke up my experience into the various areas. So I actually said, the very first one there, technical planning. I did that for 12 months, okay? Now, I could have had 2 years where I was doing technical planning and process definition, and 50% of the time I did technical planning. So out of 2 years, right, I had 12 months of experience. So you have to think about when you're doing like multiple areas at one time, what was your percentage of your time? So you just think that through. It's like, okay, I did requirements 30% of the time. I did design 20% of the time, you know, and just try to break it up that way. And then what you do is you break that into your matrix as you're doing it. So as you can see, I put 12 months there. I think I put 12 months in the other, and I transferred those months into the right area where they belong, and then they add up. Now, what's important about the matrix here, let me see if I can get my my thing back up. Oh, there it is. What's important about the matrix is the fact that it goes sideways, right? Man, I'm terrible at that. Is that it actually adds up the amount of experience you had in each position. And so it can notice that you did technical planning for position 2, technical planning for position 5, right? And those add up to more than a year, right, is what you're looking for. So this matrix is the key to filling out a proper application. By the way, just a quick sidebar thing here. You may not want to fill out your application with your descriptions and all in the application because it doesn't have spell checking on. I think when they use a form like this, it's not a good thing. So basically, you want to try to fill it out maybe on a separate document, then copy and paste it in. It'll be a lot easier to spell check and stuff. And I give you a little hint here on how to do this, and I think I put this on your tips as well within Canvas. So look, I could go through this again, but I'm kind of wary of the amount of time that we have here. Do you want to see my application, or do you think I should move on? If you think I should move on, hit a plus. If you want to see my app, a minus. I guess that's the best way to do it. Okay, we have a few move-ons. You guys understand it. Ray and Dan would like to see my application. Okay, I've got a few people. I probably should through a few. Few people want to see the application. So okay, so with that in mind, let me go real quick. You'll be able to see one nice thing. Actually, I'll go through the application because one nice thing. There is one more thing I need to show you when it comes to references. So let me get out of this. Actually, I think I can do this. All right. All right. Let me do this. Now, this is going to take me a little effort. Here's my application. Number one, it starts with, of course, and let me, I think I can make this a little bit closer so that you guys can read it. Right. I can move that around. I just need my mouse to come back. Where are you? There we go. All right. So actually, I find that the application is pretty good with these helpful hints. Do read those as you go through them. They're actually pretty helpful. General information is pretty straightforward in terms of just where you're at now and what your address is. And then they want to know if you're indeed a member of INCOSE. That actually actually impacts the cost. So they want to see if you're a member. By the way, you don't have to be a member. Your company could be what's called a corporate advisory board member, and that allows you to pay the same rate as a member. So it's important you get to know that as well. Notice there's different, they use the same application down here, the same application that they do for ASEP, for CSEP. If your certification, you're adding something else, going from an ASEP to a CSEP and things like that. So what you want to do is say exactly what your type that you're going after, certification. And then they have the exam first where they explain how that works, and then you have to hit yes if you want to do that. And then they ask you if you're a CAB board member. That's another way for them to figure it out. And then their education. One thing about the education one, which is an interesting aspect, is they just want a copy of your transcript, or so I took a picture of my exam and my diploma, and sent it in to them. And by the way, they're only looking for a technical degree. So if you have a bachelor's degree, that's sufficient. I know you're very proud of your master's, but they don't need it for the certificate. You would need it if you're going after an ESEP, maybe. But if you have a non-technical bachelor's but a technical master's, you should show your master's. That would be good for them. All right, as you're doing that. Again, all you're doing is you're putting your application plus a JPEG of your your application, of your diploma or your transcript, and they believe that. It's enough for them. All right, number 4. This is, so one of the things they want to know is, are you going to do the 5, 10, or 15 years? So you have to let them know what your degree is. That's important for them. And then these are the important areas. A P1 here, right? So that's P1. You see further down. And notice how I did P1. Actually, I think this is P2. Yeah, so this is P2. I put the number of years. Here's the thing. And by the way, I have a copy of this in Canvas. Canvas is that learning management system that you can go in, and I have a bunch of information on it. We'll get into that near the end if you have more questions about that. Okay. One thing that I need to show you that's important, and we'll get to the matrix as well. I keep losing my mouse, so that's where I always have to find out where it went off to. There we go. We're back. All right. Notice here, again, here was a short one, 6 months. And I explained here my baseline control only had 5 months. Now, all those translated into, let me pull this up. That's the rep. Oh, right. There's one more thing I needed to show you, and I completely forgot about that. All right, let me go up. Let me go back here. So this will, notice here, references that will cover this position, if so, state their name. You see that? So you need to have references in relationship to these positions that are seeing or that are going to recommend you for these various areas. So not only do you have to have them covered here, but later on in the application, when you do the actual reference, they'll ask you what positions, position 1 through 7, what did they cover? So that's a link also. Not only do you need your system engineering references, you need to know what's in there, they're working through, and stuff like that. That's actually, Greg has a good question here about P1 is the most recent or oldest. And actually, when you read their instructions, they do want P1 to be your most recent, and then you go back in time. Now, one nice thing about doing that, as you're taking your positions and you're going back in time, putting it into that matrix, you may find after 8 years, oh, hey, I've got 3 years in I've got 1 year in, or 12 months in 3 areas, which is all you need. So you can stop. Yeah, you might be able to stop at 5, you know. I personally had to go further back because I kind of got stuck in an area where I was working like 24 months into one area, but I didn't have those 3 areas. So I had to go even further back than the 5 years. I had to go back a lot further. And you'll probably see that when you go through the thing. And the one thing I didn't show you is the actual matrix. So let me show you that real quick, and then we'll call it done here. Where is that matrix? There it is. So this shows you where the matrix. Now the only weird thing about this, and I don't have Microsoft Word open to show you this, but you have to right-click on this total months of effort in order to, because it's gray. So let me open up my application real quick. Is everybody doing okay? Give me a plus sign if you guys are happy. I need to get to this real quick. Where are you? All right, good. Let me pull up something real quick here. Go to my start. Word. and CSEP application. All right, let me, sorry about staring at your camera there. But I do have like several monitors to try to make this work. So it's quite a challenge. All right, so let me matrix here. Ugh, so much longer. There we go. All right. So what I need to do is stop this thing, close presentation, desktop. All right, so what this is my my Word application, and what I want to show you is when you're over here, what you need to do is be sure to, again, you're transferring the amount over. So if you did like 12 years, 6 months here, right, or 7, right, and a little more, and then you say to yourself, oh darn, I meant to put that into position 3, and then you say, oh shoot, I meant to put it here. Let me put 7 there, and go back, put 7 here. Ugh, tell you it's hard. 6, and then go back and delete this one, right? Say I'll just delete that. Oops, delete that. Well, now you kind of screwed up your application. Let me show you why. So you come over here and you have to right click, and notice down here it says update the field, right? So the whole idea of updating field is it actually adds everything, but it can't add up everything if it has those zeros in place. So if I were to put a 3 here, and then try to add it again, you'll notice that it won't update, because what it needs the zeros here in order to calculate it all. So you need to go back and put a 0. Ugh, I missed the 0, and in there put a 0. So 1, 2, 0. I didn't quite do that right, but you do need to update the field that way. Gets really tricky as you're working it, especially when you're bringing it down. So that's an important one. Okay, I have another question. Let me straighten up my thing here so that I can read it. If you did 2 topics such as F4 tech plan in 4 months, then you put 2 + 2, not 4 + 4, correct? Yes, that's right. Well, and they calculate it into 4. So you want 2 topics. Yeah, that's right. So that's the important aspect of it. I think I understand what you're saying. Let me look at this again. If you did 2 topics such as F4, right, function 4, tech plan of F7, qualify for 4 calendar months, you should only have 4 calendar months counted for. Make sense? All right. So I think I got the most important things about the application. Number 1, your total amount of work for each position, P1, P2, P3. You also want to be able to translate the work areas from those positions into the matrix correctly. And then you need to go into the matrix and then do that little tricky thing up here where you actually hit the update field. And then make sure your references are related back to your positions. So that, I think, is the main aspect of what I wanted to get across. Okay. And I don't want to say that. All right. All right, let's get back to the application. All right, does everybody feel comfortable with the application? I've had some good questions here. And of course, I'll answer more questions as they start coming up. So if it sounds good, thanks for the plus sign. That's very, very gratifying. Okay, so that's the application. And you have to struggle with the application. Once that's in, you need to start thinking about the knowledge. And that's where the actual exam comes in. So the exam's based on the handbook. Now, the handbook actually is going to change this year. In the next few months, they're going to introduce version, I think it might be version 4. And it'll be based on 15.288/2014 or something. So because of that, now they still will allow people to be tested to this handbook for the next year. So in 2015, they will drop this exam and then go with the version 4 exam. In the meantime, I'll be coming up with a new certification course based on that handbook. So the exam is 2 hours in length. It has 120 questions, so you have a minute per question. It's electronically done with Prometrics. So what they do is they'll get back to you after those 2 weeks. You put your application in, they go, here's a code, contact Prometrics, and schedule your exam. You don't have to schedule it right away. You can wait until you feel you've studied enough and that you're ready for it. And they do come back to you if you pass right away. They let you know. If you failed, they let you know what areas that you were weak in so that you can study and then go back and take the exam. Again, you can fail the exam and then take it again within a few weeks. They'll let you do that 3 times. After that, I don't know, they probably just say, look, maybe better look for another certificate or something. So all within 1 year. And then, of course, you can always submit your application and try again. Now, the exam itself is not very complicated in terms of the way they do it. Now, I'm going to have you all get on your chat here. Oh, no, I got a better way. Let's do the plus and minus. Which 3 of the methods, which 3 of the following are methods to express functional behavior? Choose 3. Notice there's 5 down there. Okay, so what I do is I look for the ones that that don't make sense, right? There's ones you can get rid of right away, right? So allocation requirements diagram. I'm not really sure what that is, so I think we can scratch that. Now, if you agree we can scratch that, then hit the plus sign. If you don't agree, hit the minus sign. Okay, that's right. So we'll go ahead and scratch that out. Now, what's one that we can keep? Now, normally you can find 2 quick ones we can keep. They're talking about functional behavior. We have a functional flow diagram. That's pretty easy. So we'll pick that one, and then we'll pick the integrated definition functional modeling, right? IDEF. So those are 2 good ones we can pick, right? You agree with that? Hit the plus sign. So we now have 2 that we've chosen, and we've have 1 that we've gotten rid of. So what's left is the network, trees, or behavior diagrams. And it's like, what do we do? So this is what's going to happen every time, is you're going to, not every time, but a lot of times I've noticed and when I took it, this happened. A lot of my students came back. They find, yes, you're able to get to the point where you have 2 that you agree with, One you can get rid of, and then the last two you struggle which way to go. So I think it would be behavioral diagram because we're looking for functional behavior, and I believe that is way to go. So that's the three you would pick. So let's go to the next one. Oop. Oh, darn. Did you guys see that? Oh, yeah, right. The other one is justification of CM. Does it facilitate communication, force change evaluations, prevent requirements change, control requirements change, encourage requirements change? Now notice the first two, facilitate and force change environment, makes sense because that's why you do CM, right? The other one is what is it about preventing, controlling, and encouraging, right? I don't think you want to control, I don't think you want to encourage or prevent, but you would like to control. So that's where that would go. So see how you would work through that? So these are not the, these aren't the exact questions on the thing. I actually will, if you get involved in my course, I'll actually go ahead and give you a lot of examples like that so that you can get confident. Oh, good. A lot of you went in. I need to work through that more. Now, you do need the handbook, by the way, because you need to study it in order to get ready for it, right? So you can get a printed copy. If you're not a member of INCOSE, you can get a printed copy for $65, send it to them, and they'll send you a nice 5x7. It's kind of thin. You can read that. I prefer, if you're an INCOSE member or you're a member, if your company's a member of the CAB, you can get a copy of the PDF. And I would take that copy, get to Office Depot and get a spiral bound version. And actually, I forgot to grab mine. I would have shown it to you. So is this it up here? I wonder if this is it. Nope, that's not it. All right, I need to look for it. But I have a spiral bound that that I use when I teach. All right. So of course you need to study for the handbook. You can read it yourself. That's good. But I do have, and this is where I'm going to start selling you guys to sign up for my online class. I think it's pretty inexpensive. We actually do it in this type of environment. So you will see me. I'll have my diagram behind me. I'll be going through the slides, and we'll go through the entire handbook. So the handbook has 26 processes. What I do is I kind of put those in a contextual form. I give you plenty of quizzes. And that canvas that I asked you to sign in, that's something I use to give you information and be able to download a lot of things and be able to do these practice quizzes as well. So we have Canvas, that online place you can go to, and you can always access it whenever you want. It's live online like we are now. And I use this comprehensive diagram. Now this is something you won't find anywhere else. It's something I developed. What happened was I was teaching the handbook day in and day for weeks and years, and I was going page by page, and I really felt that was doing a disservice in terms of making people understand the flow of the various of the processes. So the handbook doesn't really get into that, and so I actually show this diagram where I show the organization is responsible for a project, right? And a project kind of envelops a technical processes you need to realize your system. So I go through all the processes by going through this diagram. And of course I have quizzes available for you to do online. They're very similar to the quizzes that you would get on the exam. I even give you a practice exam that you can take it time and time again, 120 questions, 2 hours, just so that you can see what it's like. The only problem with Canvas, this type of exam structure is they don't have a way to give you complete, they give you partial credit, which is not what the exam does. So you kind of have to look at it. I can go through that with you if we get you guys signed up. That'd be great. So it is a long class. I do it for 4 weekends. It's like on a Saturday like this, but it's from 9 to 4 or something. You know, it depends on how the classes go. I go through each class. I go through the various processes and work you through the entire handbook. And so by week 4, you'll be done with the technical processes. And then if you want, you can do your practice exam and feel you're ready. One of the things I like my students to do if they sign up for this is if your application comes through, you can go ahead and schedule your exam like a week or 2 weeks later after you're done with my exam, or even closer, and so that way it's more fresh on your mind. So I think it's a lot better for people to do this and be able to pass the exam. All right, those are the key requirements: knowledge, experience, and education. Leadership and accomplishments only come about through for the ASEP, and so I'm not going to cover those. Those are pretty straightforward. If you're going for that, you can read the literature. So what level's right for you? It depends. Are you just starting? Maybe an ASEP. If you've been at it for more than 5 years, try to go for the CSEP. See if you meet their requirements. Or you may want to go for an ESEP if you feel you have experience to do that as well. You can always drop back, like you can try the application for the CSEP, and if you don't meet the requirements, do the ASEP, pass the exam, and then you can switch from ASEP to CSEP. You do not need to take the exam again. One nice thing about taking the exam once for this certification is you only do it once. So that's kind of nice. All right. I did, Michelle. I did talk about the exam first. And you might have a question. Oh, yes. Amy has a good question about PDUs. Did you explain the check the box that allows you to do the exam first? So I did not see in your slides when I did the application. Oh, sorry about that. Yeah, there were 2 processes. I showed the review first and the exam first. Sorry about that, Michelle. But yes, I did cover that. Yeah, let's do that. Let's talk about the PDUs. And actually, that is, once you get certified, I think you should, full disclosure, right? I'm going to get the certification. What does that mean to my life? Hopefully, it'll help with my other things. Oh, by the way, just real quick, how long does it take? Remember, you need to do the application. How long does that take? Does it take a few weeks? It's really up to you, right? And then INCOSE gets it, and they'll review that application and make sure your fee is there. They try to turn it around within about 2 weeks. From there, your references, no clue about how long they'll take. They have to get their recommendations to INCOSE. Once all of it comes together, INCOSE tries to bring all that together within about 21 days. And then, of course, you have to take the exam as well. And then usually you can get a certification. It takes about 200 days. It's actually a long process. I think this is average. If you really need to pass, there is a way to do it, but you have to follow all the process correctly. Like make sure your application's correct, make sure your references are timely, and make sure you're ready to take the exam quickly. So I think if you did all that, you could probably shorten it up. Okay, Amy asked about renewals. That's a very good point. Oh, Michelle asked a question about references have to submit application within 2 weeks of receiving the application. No, Not really sure about that. They do you to do it within 2 weeks, but they realize references may not have time, so they'll wait as long as it takes. They actually will let you. I actually had somebody do the review first, and this was a guy from work. He put in his application. He said, "I want you to review my application before I take the test." It took them, because of the references, I think he had to get new ones, and before he was done, it was months into it, and he had to quickly take the exam because he only had a year to do everything. So no, they'll keep working it. They won't get you on references being late like that. Of course, you need to keep getting on your references. Matter of fact, keep telling them, they expect it in 2 weeks. Yeah, really. You really should do that. All right. Amy had a real good, did that work, Michelle? If you could give me an okay, that's good. All right. We're almost done here. What I want to talk about is the renewal process. So remember, for a CSEP, every 3 years you have to submit your PDUs. One of the things they want to see that you, as a professional system engineer, that you're out in learning and growing as a professional. So they want to see these things called professional development units. And really all it is an education log that you keep yourself, and you need to submit that. Now, here's my point to you. As soon as you get your certificate, download that education log, upload it into Google Docs as a Google Doc, and every time you do something, go into there, type in the date, what it was, and how many PDUs. Believe me, you don't want to wait 3 years and try to pull this all together. I actually had to do that, and I made the mistake of waiting to the end. I had plenty of PDUs, and I'll explain why, and they will allow you to carry forward some PDUs. But here's number one, being an INCOSE member. By the way, did I tell you how many PDUs there are? It's 120, right? So how many of you are involved in PMI and PMP? Put a plus sign if you're involved in PMP. Anybody? So a few of you are PMPs. All right. Whoa, a lot of you are. So how many PDUs do you need for things? Somebody type in how many you need for renewal. And by the way, I know they do it automatic, so see if any of you remember. That's right, 60. Thank you, Roy. But I'm telling you, 60, we're twice as better because we're asking for 120. Isn't crazy? By the way, if you're a PMP as well and you're getting 60 there, you'll most likely they'll be related to system engineering as well. You should be able to do both, make both work, right? All right, so what are you looking for 120? And I think if you've done the PMP trying to get 60, it can get a little tricky. 120 even more tricky. So what they want you to do, be a member. That gives you 5 PDUs a year, about 15. Try to, if you join the local chapter and go to their technical outings, right? We have a dinner at Chesapeake. We have a dinner every week, and we have a lecturer that talks for an hour. Boom, you get 1 PDU, and you get the network. So it's kind of nice. So you get 10 of those a year, you get about 30, right? Going to a symposium, of course, that's 24. That's like 8-hour days for 4 days, so you can get a good 24 hours out of that one. Trying to be involved. Now, notice this one here. This is, do I have my, I wonder if let me get up here. It's a little easier. Where's my mouse? There you are. One of the nice ones here is this. Oh, sorry. Where am I? It's hard for me to see. Sorry. One nice thing about being part of a technical society working group, you get 1 EDU hour for each effort, and there's no limit. So when I was actually helping my local chapter out, it'd be like 3 or 4 hours a month, and lo and behold, that adds up quite a bit after a year. So that usually helps quite a bit. So, and of course, leadership is another thing. If you actually get voted in, which I did for both the communications and things like that. Being involved, activities in schools related to STEM activities, volunteering in nonprofit organizations to emphasize technical programs. Again, 30 PDUs for that. And of course, getting a certificate in something other than, of course, the SEP, because you already got your certificate. You don't need another one, right? So, but they'll give you 5 PDUs for that. There are some work stuff. If you like, for instance, if you write an article, they'll give you 5 PDUs. If you publish a book, they'll give you 30 PDUs. Seriously? If you're a primary author, that's all they're going to give you? Blood, sweat, and tears on books. Man, I don't know. If I wrote a book, you think I'd want more than 30. But anyway, and research papers and stuff like this. Notice down here, if you're in the technical realm, if you're actually leading to encourage INCOSE in your organization, or I believe up here, I have to get a little closer, sorry guys, serve as a lead system engineer for a system or a product, then you can get 15. So you can actually, these are kind of work related that you're working. All right, any questions about PDUs at all? You doing good? Hit a minus if there are no questions. So I think we're doing good here. Good, guys. All right, thank you. Thank you. All right, I guess you guys are doing good. All the Renew material, again, online, very easy to get to. Download that log. Now, we'll wrap it up here. And by the way, I'll stay as long as people have questions. I can actually turn on your mic, and we can actually go back and forth verbally if you want. It usually gets a little harder when I have this amount of people having mics. That's why the webinar is a nice way to go. I got a lot of this information with on the SEP webinar, on the website. There is a really good overview brief, and I've given you some of that. So I took some of that out of that. So these are my email contacts. Of course, I'll follow up with you with some emails as well. If you ever have to get a hold of the certification, like I said, let's say you're worried about your technical degree, or you're a little confused about one of the areas, go ahead and email them, certification@incose.org, and the certification program manager or one of their workers will get back to you. It's not a very big office. It's like 3 or 4 people, and Courtney's the program manager trying to make this even better as they go along. Now, don't forget, I do have some sample quiz. When you go to Canvas, when you sign up for Canvas, this is kind of what it looks like. It's kind of a, if you ever use Blackboard or anything like that, this one will get you into there. And in there, I have some things. The next preparation course, after the March one, I haven't set yet. So Preza is right. I've got one starting in the next few weeks, March 22nd, and that would be a good one. Are you offering a class on site at UMBC? Oh yeah. So Semar, my class, I actually also teach it at the graduate level as advanced system engineering processes. So if you're part of UMBC and want 2 credits, you can actually do that. Now, the reason I do this online is I have a lot of people from Virginia and other places, right, that are coming in, South Carolina. You know, they don't have a place to go. So I want to do this online to help them with that. So that's actually a good point, Samar. So if you're UMBC, you may want to check into that. I only do it once a year, of course, in the spring, and it's a 2-credit course as well. Oh, don't forget, you can get, if you get into Canvas, you can download my study guide. I show you where to get that. Well, I think that's about it. So, wow, I went through that rather quickly. So how much time? That was, oh, 2 hours. Okay, that's what I said it would be. Okay, that went very fast for me. So I think you guys were great. I really appreciate it. You had mentioned that if my employer is part of the, you may only need 2 references. Please elaborate. Okay, so, oh yeah, as a matter of fact, let me do that real quick up here. Let me end this show. Oops. Oh no, I didn't save. Give me a second here. I need to discard. Let me go down here. I believe I have. Yeah. Okay. So, if you get on the website, you actually have to go. This gets a little tricky. You have to go to About INCOSE, and I meant to actually bring that down. There we go. This thing. Crazy thing. So see where that thing comes down? So this is the menu, and in here it says Organization Corporate Advisory Board, and that, man, they just dig that in there. All right, so and by the way, I said they would only need 2 references if they have that type of agreement. I mean, there are other agreements that they can have. I think they'll only do 2 references if your company will have that 3-person advisory board. So that's the thing. So look for your, right down here, you'll see all the companies. And on the right there, you'll actually see the name. So with the name, you'll be able to find your person and be able to work it as well. So, and you can talk to them and they'll be able to guide you through and stuff like that. All right. Did that answer your question? If so, hit a plus sign, I guess. Or, okay, thanks. That's good too. It was a great time spending with you guys. I really hope you'll sign up for my course. I would love to get more students in there. It's a great way to do it online, live, as well as in a few weeks you'll have the handbook covered from cover to cover. So I think you'll find my course very helpful in that respect. I'll hang here. If you feel you've got all that you need, please you can leave. But if you have any questions whatsoever, I'll hang here until everybody's gone, and then we'll call it a day. Thank you again very much. Thank you. Oh, by the way, don't forget you can do a quiz online too. I show you that as well. One of my quizzes, so you can try it. Okay. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Amy. Yeah, Tom. Good to hear from you. Hey, Tom, if you want to hang a while, I can make your mic work. If you want to talk a little. Yes, Paras, I'll definitely do that. Oh, Dan, the cost of the preppers is $500 for about 20 hours or so, 18 hours of instruction. So it's a pretty good price and stuff. Is the ASEP panel interview in person? No, it's by phone. So they actually, what they do is they get the interviewers. I don't know who, they probably get other ESEPs, right, that go into this, and they interview by phone. So they'll set up a phone conference call. So it'll be you plus these other 3 reviewers, and they'll ask you questions about your application, your leadership, and things like that. Okay, David, did that answer your question? And Dan, I think you're good. Okay, ESEP panel. Thanks, Paul. I'm reading all these, so saw you had Welkin. Oh, Radford, that's great. A Welkin. I tell you, actually, that was a great 5 years that I had with Welkin. I really enjoyed being with them and stuff. Oh, okay, right, yeah. Oh, good, Tom. I'm glad. Yes, please, please talk to me about the ESEP. I went through that whole process. Again, the matrix is the key as you're breaking it up. And I actually found, like for CSEP, I actually was breaking my stuff down to like about 10 years, maybe, in order to get those 3 things. In order to get 2 years and 6 of the things, I actually had to go all the way back to right after college. So I had to go pretty far back. So please, Tom, let's keep in line for that. Okay, Greg, I have one starting March 22nd on Saturday. It'll be great to, if you could join us, that'll be wonderful. And it'll be just like this. I'll set it up like this, and we'll go through, we'll be able to do the chat. One thing I'm thinking of doing, depending on the number of students, I might have it so that you can interrupt with your mic. So we may do some kind of mic session. I've taught this online before. I've noticed that most students they don't need the mic as much. They just want to get the information. Definitely understand that as we go in. Okay, only a few of you left. Thank you again, and hope to see you guys online in my course. Maybe not on the 22nd, but at least in the one to follow. And I'll keep you guys informed. You'll be on my mailing list. So thank you again. And by the way, do try to let people know about the thing. I'm going to actually have this available online in the Canvas thing, so that if people sign up afterwards, they can at least watch this for 2 hours and hopefully not be bored. So who knows? All right, guys.